Hey everyone, good to see you all. Good to see you all for launch day. Really excited. I'm Darrell Alfonso and Joe.
I'm Joe Peters from Revenue Pulse.
So good to see you. So good to see you all. I personally got like a little teaser of Otto. I haven't seen the full thing, so I'm personally excited. And um, this reminds me. I gave a keynote presentation last year where I said that I was both scared and excited about how much AI is evolving and how much is changing the way that we work. And so I was super honored to be invited by Joe and RP to help and launch this event and also kind of give my reactions to the capabilities and also kind of riff a little bit on the implications of what this means for our profession. Things are changing quickly, but I think that if I know a lot of operations people out there like myself and my team, I think we're ready to embrace it. So I'm excited on what we're going to see. Um, a little bit of housekeeping. So today we definitely will. The team's going to share Auto and do a demonstration. So we're excited to see that. We're excited to see how some people are already using it. So see some behind the scenes work there. And then we're gonna talk a little bit with the RP team about how they kind of see this helping companies in the future and how our role might change and like what we really need to think about. We're going to use the Q&A feature, so we will be taking questions and we'll pick and select those. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them, but we're going to do our best. Just note that if we don't get to questions, the RP team is going to follow up afterward. So your questions will get answered eventually. And I think that's it. Yeah, sit back and relax and let's get into this. Joe, I'll let you take it away.
Sure, thanks, Darrell. Well, we all know that there are a lot of repetitive tasks and mops, and we know your pain. How many clicks it takes to set up a webinar? Uh, how long does it take you? Is that 87 clicks? We actually tried to count. 37, 47. It's a lot of work and a lot of repetitive tasks. And so over the last couple of years, as a team at RP, we've been embracing AI and working with AI to see how it can help us with our work. And after a lot of research and experimentation, we came up with Otto. And so you can think of Otto as an AI teammate that's built by Mops Pros for Mops Pros. And so let me just get you introduced to Otto and we'll take it from there.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and a very like Apple-esque, I think that commercial was super cool. I love it. I think that I'm gonna hold a little bit of my feedback just because we don't want to spoil too much of it, but I think you could already start to see some of the things that, surprised me. But yeah, why don't we like talk a little bit through kind of the genesis of Auto, kind of like what you were trying to do so that during the demo you can kind of get a feel like people can kind of orient themselves as to the goal as to what we are trying to do and maybe some of the things that we weren't trying to do. Um, and then we had this kind of cool idea about actually sharing a survey that I had run. So let me just share this real quick. I ran a survey on LinkedIn 1 week ago, and around this idea of like, hey, is an AI agent going to replace campaign building, and is it possible today? So let's see. I'm going to be this is pretty behind the scenes, but this is like my literal LinkedIn. So, okay, so the poll was, do you think an AI agent can replace campaign building today? 631 people voted. 19% say absolutely. 51%, and you can kind of see this is what I voted. Maybe in 1 to 2 years. I voted maybe 1 to 2 years. 28%, which is actually more than the yes, said no. No AI agent can't replace campaign building today. And we don't have time to go through the comments, but there's some really, really fantastic comments. But we'll just kind of like set the stage there, Joe. Like, what do you think of those results? And like, does this kind of, change the way you think about what you're building over there?
Well,
Well,
the
the
results are
results.
not surprising. Uh, so I'm not seeing those numbers. I think that's sort of typical from the impression that we have in talking with colleagues and clients about what we can expect. But because we haven't seen things that can actually impact our work in the way that we think Otto will. And there's been a lot of hype and a lot of, let's say, letdowns so far. And so I think as we go through our introduction to Otto today, I think people are going to be really surprised at the capability and capacity that Otto can bring to your team. So this is one of those proof points. And I think even with talking with you, Darrell, the first time that you saw it, you were like, really, it can do this? This is the way you interact with it? Uh, so I think we just haven't had a lot of really great positive experiences. And, I think that the times are, today's the day that hopefully we can change the impression of some of those survey respondents in terms of what the opportunity is with an AI teammate today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A couple things I remember. I remember you saying that you were experimenting with Operator from ChatGPT OpenAI, and it kind of missed the mark. It didn't really do what. So there was maybe a path there, but it's just
Yeah.
not the way. And then I think the other thing is, and what you see online, there's a lot of, you know, thought leaders and AI gurus, and they demo a lot of AI stuff that you just wouldn't really use at work. Like you kind of want to use it, but you just,
Mm.
especially for marketing ops people, it's like not practical. Um, and I think that that's what you're all trying to change now is like tasks that we actually do day to day, have an AI agent do. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, we were talking about earlier, was you really wanted the, teams to look at Otto as like an additional teammate, like a new teammate that you could kind of delegate tasks to. You didn't, and it kind of felt like you didn't want the AI agent to replace the team. Can
Yeah,
you like riff on that a little bit and kind of expand
sure.
on that conversation?
So I think there's a couple of things there. So first, we've been really experimenting with different models and different approaches for some time now. So whenever there's a new release, we're diving in and rolling up our sleeves and seeing what we can do. The first was with Operator, which was to say in the new year. We ran some experiments and they were pretty underwhelming. And it took a long time. And the challenge with that, and I think the challenge that a lot of people see is, at this point in time, the agents are not good at actually performing all of the clicks. They struggle sometimes, and so it was an underwhelming experience. We did a lot of experiments with Zapier and some predefined workflow work, and that was actually really encouraging. But once again, it required you to predefine everything that you want to do, and that is a pretty large task in terms of when you think of every single MOPS process that we'd want to get involved with. And then there was the promise of tools like Manus, which are still under development, but once again, we had an underwhelming experience. And so I'm going to say it was probably a couple of months ago in work with our clients that we came across an approach that really changed things. And even in its infancy, it was a little bit clunky in the sense that the interface was still not a real natural way for people to interact. But our big breakthrough was when we made a connector that allowed you to engage with the AI agent with Otto just through Slack. And so you're interacting with Otto just like you would another teammate. And it's a very, very natural interaction. So I think that was the turning point for us where we felt, okay, we really have something here. You're able to work with Otto just like they were another member of the team.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, yeah, and I think we'll expand on that even more too. I think when we see it, because that I think was a turning point for me. I hadn't really seen that before, especially from like some of the other, because we're used to interacting with either ChatGPT or Claude in like a different interface and a
Yeah.
different platform than the way we work, which isn't bad, but it also doesn't give that sort of like normal work feel. It feels like you're kind of turning to something foreign. So I think that's really interesting. Um, yeah, I also think that I love the idea of an AI agent being additional teammate and additional support because I think that it still emphasizes the need for strategic human input. I think that um, you know, we always have that feeling of like, oh, if only we had the hours in the day, more hours in the day, and that's the problem that we're really trying to solve. Not like bring this thing in for me so it can completely do my job and I do something completely else, or like or render myself like sort of like redundant. And so that's why I like that approach. I know we're probably going to get into the demo now, but is there anything else, Joe, that you want to emphasize before we sort of jump in?
I think when people see this for themselves, and we're going to head into the live demonstration now, I think it'll become real, and you'll just see how natural the interactions are when you're working with Otto. So why don't we introduce Lucas from RP? Lucas, do you mind popping on screen now? And he's going to run through a deep dive demo with Otto. We're going to break it into three different sections, and there'll be a chance for us to we'll chat a little bit between each of them, just so that we can cover some of the bases there. Okay, so now how about Lucas? We turn it over to you, and you run through the first introduction to Otto.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas. I'm the Director of AI and Automation at Revenue Pulse. And I'm very excited to show you all Otto. It's something that we've been working on for a while now, and very excited to share this with the world. So let's dive to our first demo. So in this first demo, actually, you see Otto. You see me interacting with Otto via Slack to do something that I think it is the nightmare of every MOPS professional, that is merging duplicates. So first we ask Otto to find a specific lead, and you can see in Marketo there are two, and Otto returns with really two different leads. And very easily you can just say, hey, merge those leads. Otto will find which is the best one to keep as the winner and merge them automatically. So it really takes that nightmare out of you. And as you see, you can interact with Otto and speak informally as you would with a teammate. So, Darrell, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I think that was for me, I really enjoyed that just because I hadn't seen anyone interacting with AI agents via Slack before. And it did, and that's how I talk with my team. So being able to interact that way, I think is super interesting. I also remember as we were kind of discussing earlier that you don't just have to give it tasks. I think you can talk to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you can
Like
talk to it as a
Otto can
friend.
be the subject matter expert, of your Marketo instance slash like,
Yeah.
does it also have access to like the community stuff articles and stuff, or like how does
It
that work?
doesn't have live internet access, but it has access to database of knowledge
Right.
from the base AI model. So it can help you with a lot of other tasks, and you can ask for some help. And they will join us later. And she did a great experiment on attribution with it, and it really helped.
Yeah, you can. The first message that I said to Otto when we were running through the first experience, I said, Otto, I love you. And it was very thankful for that message and its response. So you have kind of this like chat interface that's very natural and very it's not just limited to certain functions or just giving it a specific task. But why don't we move into the next area, Lucas, that's a little bit more sophisticated in terms of the auto interactions.
Yeah, let's move there. So now in the second demo, we'll actually be creating campaigns. So you can see that we have an Asana ticket. It's not full of instructions. It just have the name of the webinar, the date, all of that. On the right, you can see Marketo with a webinar template that we want to create the webinar from it. And we want to update the relevant tokens, for example. So we have the right information for the campaign. Again, you don't have to send Otto a lot of instructions. You just need to say, hey, Otto, work on this. And it start working on the background. Already did create the program. You see on the right side of the screen, and exactly the same. You can see it also updated the tokens as expected. In a few seconds, it will reply to Asana. Right now it did, and saying that everything has been completed successfully, and you can keep creating your program from there. Darrell and Joe, any thoughts on this one?
So in this one is a different sort of demonstration because you're working out of Asana, which is many marketers' favorite. It's either that one or like what's popular now, Monday.com. But Asana, I think, is probably the go-to choice for everybody. Eh, so in that example, you are assigning an Asana task to Otto in the same way that you would assign a task to your teammate. Is that how does that work?
Yeah, right now it's working based on a tag. So you add a tag just to Auto, and that triggers the agent to do the task. So it's not really assigning but tagging, but you could do it with assignment. Yeah,
You can do it with assignment.
yeah.
And then is it kind of like what are the options now? Like for could you like explain to me, could you solely work with Auto out of Slack or solely work out of with Auto out of Asana, or works best in conjunction? Like what's the story there?
Oh yeah, you could work in your system of preference actually. So right now we integrated with Asana or Slack, but we have plans to also integrate with other ticketing systems like Monday.com or Jira and these other platforms that we see a lot in marketing operations. A lot of each company has its own ticketing system, its own work of preference. I see a lot of power in the combination of both, having it in your messaging app and also in your ticketing system. Because if you want, ideally, you can create a ticket and just the ticket creation trigger Auto, and it does the bulk of the work even before a specialist gets there. And then when the specialist gets there, they can do the QA, take it to the last mile, and finalize the work. And in Slack, I think it is great for one-off tasks that you want to solve in your day-to-day, find a specific lead, or I need to debug something very quickly. Slack is there for it. But for campaign operations, I really love having it on the ticketing system.
Yeah, yeah. And I still love the human in the loop thing. I mean, that's how we build our campaign. Like that's how I recommend building campaigns anyway. Like one person builds, another person sort of QAs and does the final review, just so that there's a second set of eyes. So that I think is again very akin to another teammate that's doing the work for you that you're just sort of reviewing, which I don't think is extra. I, this might be a little bit too in the weeds, but like, are you able to share like how does Auto know like what folder to clone it into and like which tokens does it have access to all the tokens or you
Uh,
that's something that the
uh,
marketer define like is that do you set Auto up to know that or does it just know?
you have to basically explain the logic of your instance. So you don't need to, like on the system message on the backend side, you need to have it kind of explained. It is not a technical setup. It's basically explaining what are the available templates, what are the available folders. But you don't have to say, hey, for every webinar, you have to clone to this specific webinars. But this is a list of folders that you can create programs in. And or this is the logic of the naming of the folders. And from that, it can find the right folder in your instance. So
So
you don't have to overly explain, you just have to give guidelines as a coworker would. If you
Yeah.
onboard a marketer specialist, it will need that, right?
And that's the difference between some of the workflow agents that we've been exposed to at this point in time, where everything is predefined. It actually is autonomous in its ability to kind of think through and work through what is the way it can work and what are the functions it can do. But there are very significant guardrails within the system as well.
right. So it's kind of like you have to give it a little bit of an instance walkthrough. And maybe that's something you do when you're onboarding Auto. You say like this is our naming convention. This is how we organize all our folders, you know.
Exactly.
And then once you give it a command or once you give it an input, it can then parse out, okay, I'm going to make a decision. I know that this is the folder setups. To me, it should go in here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that sort of decision making capability is what you're saying is different than some of the workflow automations that we've seen before.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
And it's also like you saw that the ticket doesn't specify which actions to take, but it has the knowledge to understand inherently from its training that it has to find the right folder, it has to find the right template, it has to clone the right program to the right template. This sort of things are also decisions that it makes on on the back end that we don't even see and we don't have to pre-configure because it is a smart agent.
Yeah.
And if it does come across maybe some like something ambiguous, does it throw it back at you and say like, "What, can you clarify this?" Or like, how does that work? Or I don't know. Maybe it doesn't come across something ambiguous. Just
Yeah, ideally it will try to accomplish the task, but if it's unclear, it will get back to you. It does that a bit faster on Slack than Asana. Asana it runs a huge, bigger process, but on Slack it does almost immediately get back to you.
got it.
Sometimes it needs more information or
Yeah,
further refinement. But why don't we move on to that next demonstration, Lucas, so you can show us the third
absolutely.
part.
So in this third demo, let's say you are happy with the results from Otto, but you want to see a sample of the follow-up email before you launch the campaign, just to be sure that it's looking good. So you're asking Otto, hey, please send the follow-up email to your email address. It replied that it did. You can see even the name of the webinar is the same one that we added to the token. So it's working properly as we would expect. Say we did our QA, now it's all looking good, activate the smart campaigns and let's launch this program. And Auto can do it all for you. Um, so it activated the attended one and then the no-show, so it can help from the first setup until the final launch. And then it replies with a nice message explaining what it did. So back to you, Darrell and Joe. Do you have any thoughts on this third one?
I just thought that like what's interesting about if because my first thought was I would just like to use it in Slack. It seems easier to me. It's like I'm chatting with a friend. But then in Asana, you have that paper trail, which is interesting. Like, so another coworker could actually look through, see that you were working with Otto, and just kind of verify that all the steps were done. Do you think that you'll see more marketers wanting to work out of Asana because of that sort of paper trail thing, or like, um, we're not really sure yet. Like, what do you think about that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the paper trail is very, very valuable for this. Even when we are working individually with clients, they usually always prefer that we use ticketing systems instead of direct Slack messages,
That's true.
because if someone goes out of office, if there is the need of some debugging, some Q&A, some QA, sorry, the other person can go there and see exactly what happened. So I really see the ticketing system as a way forward, integrated with Slack as a support mechanism, because sometimes you also want that quicker chat because you don't want to log into Asana every time you need to figure out something, right? It's much faster and easier if you're a messaging app.
Yeah, and then the other thing with Slack is it isn't just a one-to-one communication with Otto. You can do a group initiative. So there would be a thread with multiple participants if you wanted to have that as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. No, that makes a lot of sense. But let's say, for example, you know, you're debating something in a chat or in a Slack thread, then once you make an agreement, you can just type right there, Auto, can you activate this smart campaign or can you clone this webinar?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like that. The other thing, and I think we might, talk about this at the when we do the debrief after this, but this is really giving the sense that you can do a lot of things in the marketing automation platform without actually being in the marketing platform. So, which I think can be maybe scary for a little bit for some folks. I think that, on the flip side though, these are things that you would go in and do and take up your own time to do anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like we go in there and send the test email, which we've done 100, a thousand times. Go in there, click activate the smart campaign, which we've done 1,000 times. You know what I mean? So I can see both sides of, like, on one hand, feels a little bit weird not logging into your map, but it definitely saves time. So
Yeah, and I think you've just teed up the next part of our discussion today, which is hearing from one of our clients and their experience and what it means for time and them in their experience. So why don't we head over to hear from Wit at Dremio, and they've had early access to Otto.
Hi, I'm Whit. I'm Director of Growth here at Dremio. I lead our product-led growth, marketing ops, and everything digital marketing at the company. And so excited to be here today to discuss Otto. I mean, my first thought when I saw Otto was, this is amazing. I mean, this is pretty much exactly what we want to do and what we want to implement. It allows us to maintain that level of personal interaction and conversational interaction that we would get with an RP teammate, but it gives us more control and more self-service and greater flexibility. We're a global team, right? So there are different stakeholders that want to adjust and tweak not only campaigns or run webinars or adjust lead scoring, depending on what their business goals are. And a tool like Otto just takes that to 10 times. At Dremio, we're a fully distributed remote organization. So we have folks in EMEA, we have folks across the United States in different time zones, et cetera. And then obviously there are people targeting, different verticals, different markets. So what Otto allows everyone to do is just basically tailor our stack to their needs, their business requirements. And those are, as you can imagine, ever changing depending on what the markets are doing. And as we all know, the markets are accelerating and changing very rapidly right now. So one of the immediate initial challenges was we were thinking, okay, how can we create a next best offer agent to help us take all of our different content, but then suss through and deploy it in real time to different prospects. The team at RP said, that's an amazing challenge. We're going to take this on with you. We've been working hand in hand. And we've already starting to see some incredible results, open rates well beyond what we see in the norm. We're seeing, I think our average click-through rate is usually about 0.5%. We were getting engagement as high as 20 on some of the tests that we were running. And we've actually started deploying this into production today. And we're really, really excited to do that. And so when I see a tool like Otto, it's just basically almost like a natural extension, right? As folks are rolling out their agentic AI roadmaps, you're tackling different use cases and thinking about how agents can plug in.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. I mean, it's cool to see that it's already operational. And I love, I think a lot of times when we launch new features, it's kind of like very forward looking and, might work, it might not work, but I love how it's already put in practice. Really, really good to see.
All right, well, maybe this is a good segue for you, Lucas, to talk a little bit about and share a little bit about what we can expect from Otto coming this summer.
Sure, Joe. Yeah, Auto is evolving fast, and I already briefed a few things that we want to develop for on the next few months, like integration with different ticketing systems as fast as we can. Also, the ability to schedule smart campaigns because right now we can activate but not directly schedule them. We also want to do mass deduplication, so the ability to point Auto to a list of duplicates and make it deduplicate everything instead of doing one-offs. And one that I'm very excited to is the ability to clean and import lists. I know that's a lot of work and a lot of manual work that folks usually hate. So if we can do that automatically with Auto would be amazing, and we'll be able to in a few months. Uh, yeah, that's what's on our roadmap.
Nice, nice. So scheduling smart campaigns, other project management platforms, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Mass
um,
duplication there too.
oh, the duplication. Right, 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 right. Yeah, love those. And I think you mentioned it's coming in just the next couple of months. Or
Yeah.
when did you expect those?
Still during this summer. I know that we are already in summer, but we move fast here.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I appreciate that too. Because the roadmaps usually take a long time, but to see these come to life really quickly, I think is exciting. And yeah, I'm sure too we can hear from the audience as well, like if there are any features that they might be keen to see.
Yeah.
But
A
but
lot of this is client led, right? Like, so
yeah.
clients are pushing for different features and functionality, and that's the exciting part of this is that we're taking the need and making it happen.
Yeah. So why don't we take some time, and I know we want to bring Andy on. Why don't we take some time to like talk through some of the implications, and I think that like what this kind of means, how things are going to change. And so we're glad to have Andy on. Hey Andy, how are you doing?
Good. I just realized I have my champ background from my last thing I did. Actually, turn that off because I have my preferred just regular old background is fine. But um, good to be chatting with y'all.
Yeah, yeah. So I think like the first one, we've kind of hinted at it a little bit, but like I just want to like revisit it again around the concept of really looking at Otto as an extra teammate versus like someone to do like the entire jobs. And does anyone want to start on that one? Because I think it's one the audience and like myself have been kind of contemplating over the last few months of like how much of this of my job is it really going to take, and like is there going to be this sort of you know thoughts from leadership of like well, there's an AI agent that can just do this. Why do we need you? It's hard to say that in like such a harsh way, but I think it's on people's minds, and I'd love for the team to kind of like riff on that a little bit and like give us your perspective, please.
Yeah. Andy, why don't you? Andy
Yeah,
wrote a really great piece on this, so why don't you
I
start?
have a lot of thoughts here. I know a lot of people are either scared or sort of potentially thinking about the idea that their job may be replaced by AI. And I truly believe that in the midterm, that most jobs won't be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by people who are AI enabled or AI activated. And so I think that knowing how to work with AI, knowing how to partner with AI and how to leverage it is where the rubber meets the road. And that's really what Otto is, but that's also what we see ourselves doing with a lot of our clients is sort of adding that layer of AI into processes and knowing how and when to use it. I think this kind of thing is going to have a couple outcomes. One of them is that it provides a different amount of scale. And so you may find actually that there's more headcount needed to manage it, work with it, scale with it, but that you can also get things done faster. Imagine being able to get something straight out of a ticket into prod in 24 hours of having everything as opposed to a 3 to 8 to 12 week production cycle, right? Those kinds of things. I think that's going to really change. But yeah, I don't necessarily see this as a job replacement. um and just like with any team, I'm not going to have a team of campaign operations specialists running without a manager, right? We need the director, we need the traffic cop, we need the person in between everything. And I think that very much we see that here is that it's a part of the process and part of the team, one of the workers, but it's not doing the whole dang opera.
I love that. And the other way, and it just made me think of right now, is that a lot of teams, probably, and most of the people on the call, we're actually being pressed to explain how we're using AI in our day to day, and how
Mhm.
we're using AI to, accelerate the rate at which we achieve our goals. And if we, like I said before, I think we need to embrace this kind of stuff rather than just try to like hide under the covers. You know what I mean? Because eventually your boss or leaders are going to come and say like, hey, how are you using AI in your work? And if we don't have the right answer for that, I think we're going to be in trouble. Like, I think they're going to start looking for people that are using AI. So let's talk about change a little bit. Like, I think that's what's on people's minds too. Like, now that we have this AI agent that has these kind of capabilities, like, how does the day-to-day of campaign operations teams and the marketing operations teams like change? Like, how do you guys see it changing right now and then maybe over the next couple of years? Who wants to take that one?
Well, maybe I can start, and then Lucas, you can maybe follow up on this. But if we take some of our client experiences and the idea of just being able to do more faster, like just accelerating things, and then freeing up your time for other tasks. I think those are the types of things that we're seeing once there's access to Otto. But Lucas, I'll let you continue from some of your experiences.
Absolutely. And I I think this whole question on the future of our work is kind of funny because if you look back 30 years, the marketing operations didn't even exist, actually. And all of a sudden, we probably started as people copying and pasting email addresses into an Outlook interface and hitting send. And now we evolved to Eloqua, Marketo, HubSpot, Pardot, experts, and now we are evolving again. That's how I see it. And we will not be less needed, but we will need to be performing different tasks as the Marketo expert now does not perform the same tasks as the Outlook sender did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And what I see everywhere is that marketing operations will become more and more strategic, thinking more about the architecture between systems, thinking ahead of campaigns, being really careful on QA, assuring that we are sending high volume with high quality campaigns too.
Yeah. I agree. I think, one of the common refrains from just about everyone in MOPS is, I'm not seen as strategic enough. I don't have time to do that kind of work. I'm so in the weeds. I'm so stuck in these other places doing the day-to-day stuff. And imagine if you could hand the day-to-day stuff to, your companion, your partner in crime, and have time to do that architectural, strategic, like leading up work, and the other stuff is being managed simultaneously with that. I think that it kind of is what we all wish. And since a lot of us are lone wolves at our organizations, right, where there are many of us that have been or are just the only person at our organization that even knows what we do, let alone does it, being able to free some of that off the corner of the desk and the main part of the desk and bring new stuff onto the desk that's bigger initiatives is really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. A few things resonated with me. First of all, like the need, I remember Andy, you said in an earlier question, like the need for a manager. And I love that because today you can't say like, hey, AI, can you like make this even more customer centric for our customers? Can you make this an even better experience? We're not there yet. Maybe in the future, but I still think that there's that human need for strategic oversight and creativity. And then I love what Lucas said around like remember when Marketo first entered the scene, there was still a host of problems that needed to be solved, and it like made the way for like Marketo experts. And they still needed people like that was supposed to be marketing automation. You know what I mean? But they guess what? You still needed really smart people to do it. And I see that, we're just in that next stage of evolution. Um, One quick question before we move to Q&A, because we have to move to Q&A, but I wonder if anyone can answer, like, are there things that we should focus on learning now, like marketing ops pros, like now that a lot of these systems related things are being starting to be taken over by AI agents? Should we focus on learning different things? I don't know. Like what skills and what knowledge do you think that we should focus on, if any? Anyone have an answer to that one?
That one, I think I would say, in our experience within RP, having a healthy dose of curiosity and a little bit of experimentation can go a long way.
Yeah.
And especially understanding a little bit how these large language models work can go a long way, not only in your from a personal workflow perspective, but also getting a glimpse of where things are going. So if there's one thing that we've encouraged everyone here on our team is to roll up your sleeves and play around a bit and see how these new tools work, because one of the easiest things you can say is this is the worst the AI is ever going to be. It's going to get better. We can count on it. So if that's the case, then it's worth investing some time now to understand how they're evolving and working in the future.
It is funny that you bring up this question today, Darrell, because I was actually listening to a podcast that talked about a report about skills for the future with AI yesterday. So it highlighted three ones that I really agree. The first one is the king of taste, basically. So people have great taste to see if a solution designed by AI is good or not, if it is going to be the best way or not. So basically, I can set up a campaign, it can prepare everything, but is this the best way? So brings all the attention to QA and to have great eyes to catch possible, not even errors, but things that could be done better and even bring some of the system architects to this. So is our templates optimized, our systems optimized for AI? The second ability is the ability of a plumber, basically. That's how they kind of summarized it. So the ability to connect AI with different systems. So make it all these workflows work perfectly. And the third one is the designer. We talked a lot about this, basically defining where is the best place for people to interact with your solutions. If it's going to be Asana, it's going to be Slack, it's going to be another ticketing system, it's going to be a completely different UI. So people who design those experiences also be needed. So I would say if you want to focus on any of those three skills, that's a great path forward.
Love it. Love it. I'd love to riff on that, but we do have to get to the questions, and there's a lot. Unless Joe, I saw a note from you.
Well, no, we have time for questions. I know they've been coming in through the Q&A element, and just as Darrell said, uh, each one of those questions that we're not going to have time to respond to them all, but a member from the RP team will follow up with everyone and make sure your questions are answered.
Yep, love that. Okay, why don't we go into this one? Does Otto work for other platforms other than Marketo? What's the story there? Um, that's our first question.
HubSpot is coming.
There we go. I would say, yeah, if you had to pick two, those are the ones to pick. So really good, really good. Any like potential dates on that one or not just yet?
There's we like the summer timeline. We're gonna stick to that timeline, Darrell. There's a lot going on, but it's amazing now with these foundations and core that we have in place, just how fast we can move now in terms of our architecture and understanding of how everything interconnects. So yeah, we're moving fast, and it's a very, very exciting time here at RP.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Summertime. Honestly, we should just do a repeat then after the summer and just share
Yeah.
like all the stuff because it's happening quickly, and I feel like that's kind of mirroring what's happening with AI in general. It's like it's evolving very quickly. So definitely a good one. I have another question here. I think we already answered it, which is essentially like, what does it mean for campaign ops teams now that we have this? So I feel like we can kind of skip that one because it was answered. Another one is like a question around like the timeline, like around you actually using Auto. Like, how long does it take to get like this set up for your instance, for your company? Like, how do you like what's the process there? Like, any details that can you give us around the actual setup time and implementation time of Auto?
So
Uh,
I'll let Lucas get into this one, but every every kind of client environment is a little bit different. There are different stakeholders, there are different processes that you need to undertake, and sometimes the stakeholders and process are part of what is required in terms of the management and coordination of an implementation of Auto. So we can move as fast as our clients can, and generally we're faster than a procurement process if we want to be a little bit funny about it. But Lucas, you can get into a little bit more detail, but we can make some really great progress in working with teams in that kind of 4 to 6 week horizon.
And just to keeping a parallel between onboarding a coworker, you can think of the time to onboard Otto as the time to onboard a great Marketo expert to your team. Of course, you need to give it some foundation knowledge, some overview of the processes, but that's it.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, just like I said, a coworker will take, even more than that, I think, to set up. And if that's like the time it takes for a fully functioning agent to be like ready to act like at your service, I think it's a good time investment. I'm seeing a note from the team that we actually want to move to the to the final portion just to make sure that people know
Yeah.
like what next steps to do if they're interested in finding out about this. But just to kind of reiterate, I think that because I do see like a ton of questions that we didn't get to. The RP team said that they're going to be diligent about answering each one of y'all's questions. So don't feel bad. They're just going to get to you right after this. And yeah, Joe, Eric, are we gonna
Yeah, well,
know what? Yeah. Okay.
well, that one a little faster, but uh, now you can go on to the RP site and book your own auto walkthrough. So if you can use that QR code or go to revenuepulse.com/auto, there's opportunity for you to see. We have a demonstration video that is live now as well. That's kind of integrated some of the things that you've seen today. If you want to have a closer look or rewind through that, that's available now. And if you want to have a personalized walkthrough with the RP team, we're really happy to introduce you to Otto and start that conversation with you. But I think with that, Darrell, thank you so much for helping us introduce Otto to the world today. It's been great to have you here with us.
Yeah, it was great to be part of it. I think that I think that I remember when you were first telling me about this, I got the feeling that the future is here. Like I think for everyone, it's coming faster than we thought. That's the feedback that I get from a lot of my team and a lot of people of just like how quickly the technology is advancing is I'm gonna stick with what I said before. It's like scary and exciting. And I think it's time to take advantage of it and learn about it. And yeah, yeah. Hope everybody enjoyed that. I did for sure. And really great to be part
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to the chance to introduce you to Otto on your own. So thanks for joining us today, and we're happy to continue the conversation. And Darrell, thanks again. So great introduction for Otto to the world.
A lot of fun. Okay. Thanks, everybody.